Do you want an unfair advantage to dominate your fantasy league? Look no further and download Squad QL, the only mobile app that you need to crush your friends and rivals. Squad QL recommends the best starting lineup for each week based on your starters, bench players, and free agent pool. Squad QL provides waiver and trade recommendations too. Go to squadql.com to download Squad QL for free. Squad QL is brought to you by the creators of RotoQL. Get it now.
And reminder, check out jointhefoot.com. This is our exclusive community. Help support this show. Get really, really cool perks every single week, like a bonus episode featuring only Foot Clan questions, get access to forums, all sorts of cool stuff. Check it out, jointhefoot.com.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from Draft.com Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Oh, let's do a show. Welcome in. It's Tuesday. It's waiver day, September 25th. Somehow, someway, we're through week 3 of the NFL season. Andy, Mike, and Jason, the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, back again. Straight into your ears like a podcast.
Oh, like only a podcast can.
Like only a podcast. I guess that's not even true. If you're watching on YouTube.
I was going to say, we're straight into the eyeballs.
Right in your eyeballs, as they say. YouTube.com/thefantasyfootballers if you want to watch a grown man cry. Today's the day. Jason, before the show, I thought maybe he had like a one-day tilt, Mike. I was looking at him yesterday.
Sure.
Over the course of the day, he slowly became more and more sad with the fact that he was inevitably facing defeat in our league of record. And I thought this was a one-day thing. Now, we got up and we went to the gym this morning, and he walked in, and I said, "Hey, are you doing okay?" And, well, he wasn't doing okay. And so this is more of a permanent situation. And then we get in here, and we're about to start the show, and he says, "Carry me, boys, carry me." And I heard bury me. So I don't. Jason, status check.
Status check is this.
Still verified?
Still verified. They do not take that away for losses. My co-owner, Brooks,
I've heard of him,
correctly said before the show, he said, "Hey, Jason, the people need you." And that's right. They do. There are plenty of people out there right now with great teams. I mean, we know I know someone who's been posting in the listener league from a different league, screenshots where they are the highest point scorer in their league, and they're 0-3.
Oh.
I mean, that stuff happens. If you are in a rut, don't give up. You can win. And so here's my promise to the Foot Clan. I might go 0-4, but I am winning the championship this season. This is my promise. I'm calling my shot right now. I will win the championship. Brooks and I will win the championship in our league of record this season, and I am currently 0-3 and might even go 0-4. It's just going to happen.
It seems a lot more Casey at the bat than Babe Ruth right now.
Well, we're going to find out. That's the
He's already got 3 strikes, though.
Yeah, but
that's you can have your baseball.
Here's the reality. See, we've done this show long enough. We see every story. When title time comes, we get piles of emails and tweets and YouTube comments from the 03, 04, 05 people.
Yeah.
And it happens every year.
Every single year.
And one of the things that happens is the other teams in your league that are struggling, they freak out. We had it happen this week in our Dynasty League. They throw their hands up and go, well, I guess I suck. So I'm going to trade my good players away. And guess what? You just lost competition.
Yeah.
You have less teams to compete with.
You got a free win come week 8 or 9 or 10 or whenever you're matched up against them. And here's the other pro tip. If you want, a lot of times people are always saying, how do I get trades to happen in my league? I'm not the best trade. Give me a trade tip. Best trade tip imaginable. And you've said this before, Andy. Go to the teams in your league that are also 0-3. Look at who has a losing record. It is so much easier to get a trade done with someone who is 0-3, 1-2, than it is someone's 3-0 and they go, well, I don't really want to break it up. Look for the good performing players or the guys you want on bad teams and make something work there.
And this show is the waiver show. We also do Stash and Trash on the show. We'll have our quarterback streamers. We'll get you right for week 4 coming up and let you know kind of who you can drop, who you can let go of. Now, not everybody's in Jason's boat, right, Mike?
No, I'm not. I'm good.
Yeah. So
doing all right.
We're going to help you out, too. Hopefully you're doing well. Now, FootClanGiveaway.com, you can go over there, completely free. Enter to win a signed Corey Davis jersey and a championship belt. That's this month's giveaway, FootClanGiveaway.com. And let's talk about Monday Night Football in lieu of a quick question today, because it was an exciting game. It was an up-and-down ride for Fitzmagic, tragic, Fitz pick six.
Pittsburgh.
I've heard. You heard Pittsburgh.
Yeah, there was a sign of welcome to Pittsburgh.
It's interesting because the debate that everyone wants to have, and mind you, another 400-yard game for Ryan Fitzpatrick, but he had the 3 picks. He took some sacks. He had a bad QBR.
He had a fine fantasy day. I mean, it wasn't what you hoped. It wasn't a top 5 performance. I obviously started in a 6-foot hole, but when you throw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, you salvaged your fantasy day.
Yeah.
You were just fine with him as your starter.
On the season, second in the league in total touchdowns thrown, first in 20-plus yard completions. He has 18 of those, number one. 820 air yards, the second most, 576 in the NFL. And he is still the number 2 in passer rating. I do not think that the Buccaneers bench Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think they'll play him. What do you guys think?
100%.
I lean that way as well. Brooks just pasted in the picture. I don't know if you saw his reaction, Ryan Fitzpatrick's reaction to one of his completions where he went wide-eyed like an absolute maniac animal.
It was awesome.
It's incredible. But it was funny watching that game because there was a quote that had come out before the game that said, I don't remember if it was the GM, the coach, who was saying about Ryan Fitzpatrick, but saying, as long as Ryan Fitzpatrick doesn't do something incredibly stupid, he will be the starter. And then we saw 3 quarters of absolute stupid happen for Ryan Fitzpatrick. Not 3, I got that. We saw a half of it. And he made the decision difficult because he came back, nearly won the game. I'm with you guys. I believe that Ryan Fitzpatrick stays the starter for week 4.
Ronald Jones was a healthy scratch again.
This is not good.
But Peyton Barber is atrocious.
That's why it's so bad.
Peyton Barber has been we told you last week don't start him. You cannot start him. But 8 for 33, they have no running game. Is this true that Ryan Fitzpatrick is the first quarterback in NFL history to have 400-plus yards in 3 consecutive games?
And to start the season, yes.
To start the season. So Peyton Barber is trash to me. If we're a preemptive stash or trash, do you agree? Or is he a stash? Because he's a starting running back. You normally make that argument. But still like Jordan Wilkins and Jamaal Williams, and there's a lot of guys that are kind of like, you have them on your bench, and you never want to play them.
I'm still stashing him because he is the starting running back for an NFL offense. He actually got a high-powered offense. He got a couple carries. He had a chance inside the 5, and he got down to like the 2, almost scored a touchdown. So it's there. And if you look at these first 3 games, they've been shootouts, just unbelievable. And that's kind of, look at the teams that they're playing, the Saints and the Steelers, these high output games where it's hard to run the ball from a game script standpoint. So I'm not throwing him away yet. But, yeah, Ronald Jones is – what do you do? Sean Wilson.
He'll
active.
Undrafted free agent.
Right now, you expect Jones will make it in there eventually, but you don't know. And I watched Peyton Barber take a handoff yesterday, and then he was trying to get the edge. I baked a full ham in the time that he got to the outside. So they got to fix something on the running game.
Yeah.
That's hurting them. James Conner was having an atrocious game on the ground until the final drive.
Until the Bucs knew they were going to run the ball.
And
what was that all about?
Busted off a 27-yarder and turned, I think he was at that point something
ridiculous.
It was like 11 for nothing.
Yeah, he was running about 1.5.
And he ended up 15 for 61, caught 5 passes, so he was okay for you. Big-time games from Vance McDonald. 4 for 112 and a touchdown. If you listen, did you hear his interview after the game?
No.
They said when you saw Chris Conte, which, by the way, Chris Conte, the strong, quote, safety, he had been truck sticked by Charles Clay a couple of years ago. Vance McDonald, they go, okay, what were you thinking there? He goes, just crush him. He goes, I just wanted to crush him, just destroy him, just absolutely pulverize him, just make him feel it. And that was his answer. It's just such a contrast to the Clay Matthews can't hit the quarterback, and then he basically twisted his neck into a pretzel on the stiff arm, and that's legal. It's comedic to me. But Big Ben, Big Ben has more fantasy points the last 2 weeks than Pat Mahomes does. So for all the Pat Mahomes hype, do not lose sight of what Big Ben is doing for fantasy right now.
Correct.
And Juju Smith-Schuster in the slot is like a cheat code. 9 for 116, didn't score but had 11 targets, and is a monster.
This is what I was talking about in the offseason, because it's not 3 games. It's the second half of last year. It's since Ryan Shazier has been gone, Ben Roethlisberger's the number 1 quarterback in fantasy football. He's been unbelievable, and now you add Juju, who's unbelievable next to Antonio Brown. You take away Lev Bell, who is obviously a better runner than James Conner. James Conner's been admirable, but he's no Lev Bell, and you keep slinging that rock, Big Ben.
Yeah.
I was just on Twitter, and someone said that we need more Jay Grizz on the show. He hasn't been around in a little while.
Sorry.
I want to highlight the fact that he is a cardboard bear.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he brings a little. Maybe you think he brings a little more than he really does. I'm not sure. Other fantasy takeaways from this game. To me, Chris Godwin was a takeaway. He dropped a couple passes. I think that if you want him to be a reliable guy, he's got to make those catches. But he also made a couple catches that were pretty special, and he had 10 targets. I think he's a guy you got to pick up.
I was going to say,
Godwin
is he just a must start at this point until Ryan Fitzpatrick leaves the lineup?
For all of the aghastness that you just showed, he's on our waiver wire in our league of record. He's not a player that he's in that category where people were looking at him like, Galladay, Stills, fringe starter type of player. And no, that's the right question. Is he a wide receiver 2 in your mind right now? I don't know. I don't know if he is or not. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not going away. While Ryan Fitzpatrick is the quarterback, I'm not going away from Godwin. Maybe, in a bad matchup, then sure, I'll make sure I'm not just blindly starting someone. But Godwin is a player that coming out last year was highly rated. That was one of Matt Harmon's favorite guys, a great contested catch type of player. We've seen that so far in the NFL. He's looked great. And Mike Evans is going to get the number 1 coverage. So I think Godwin is a worthy start most weeks.
How does Mike Evans feel right now about the quarterback situation?
He wants Ryan Fitzpatrick.
That's got to be so conflicting that your perceived franchise guy is scheduled to come back from his suspension, but Mike Evans hasn't had numbers like this in years.
It's confusing for all of them because you're in a situation where, look, Deshaun Jackson didn't do anything last year.
Right.
And he's having success this year. I want to talk about one more piece of the puzzle. Jason and I were debating it this morning.
Mm-hmm.
O.J. Howard, his name needs to come up. Last year, as a rookie, snap count percentage between Howard and Brait was 55 to 53.
Ooh.
55. This year, it's 65 to 30 right now. In Howard's favor. They're going that 5-wide action, and Howard's such an athletic freak. Last night he had a very good game. He dropped a couple passes and still put up 6 for 72.
Howard.
So Jason was saying he's a top 6 tight end.
That's what I believe Howard is right now. I mean, top 6. When you say top 6, you don't have to be great. I'm not saying top 3. You have to be great to be in that
you have
range.
To be elite to be top 3.
But then it just falls off. I mean, you've got a guy in O.J. Howard who was a generational talent coming out of the draft, right? I mean, a freak. You just go look at his Spark scores, and he, set the new standard. He was like Von Miller when it comes to athleticism. And now, so far on the season, he hasn't had a game with fewer than 50 yards from the tight end position. I mean, you just need to stay with O.J. Howard right now.
Is this his career high in receptions last night?
It's got to
6?
be.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because I think I brought up he had never had more than 3.
Yeah, he was a 3-catch guy all of last year.
Yeah, and the thing is you'll have – this isn't saying that every week O.J. Howard's going to be great, but every single week, every tight end outside of the top 3 can just garbage. But there are very few guys that can do what O.J. Howard can do, and like you said, he dropped a couple.
Yeah, and I don't read too much into the snap percentage in respect to the fact Howard's an amazing blocker, but I was definitely impressed with him, and he's a much better talent than Cameron Brate. You're still going to have the painful realities like where Brate caught a touchdown last night. And Mike, last point before we get into the news, do you fear the return of Winston for Howard versus Brate because of the rapport that Winston had with Brate last year? Does that go into your consideration, or do you feel like this is just a level up for Howard?
I'm going to go with the level up for Howard, but it should be in the back of your mind.
Okay, let's move on to the news.
Oh, yeah. Super newsy. Oh. Yeah.
We're going back to the 80s?
What on earth? I'm leaving this in.
Oh, this is magical.
ESPN's Adam Schefter reports. The MRI has confirmed Jimmy Garoppolo's initial diagnosis of a torn left ACL. Someone call Axel F. Get Axel Foley in here immediately.
So if you could see Brooks' face, it's a gas. So a couple days ago, we lost our whole soundboard.
Where did that come from?
We lost our whole soundboard, and Brooks rebuilt it. And we hadn't played news since then.
That is maybe my yeah.
Cardinals coach Steve Wilkes announced Monday that rookie Josh Rosen will start at quarterback going forward.
Oh, man.
Dalvin Cook, day-to-day, unsure of his Week 4 status.
Jaguars coach Doug Marrone said running backs Leonard Fournette and TJ Yeldon will be day-to-day this week.
Speaking Monday, Titans coach Mike Vrabel said there are still throws Marcus Mariota can't make.
Hey, guess what? Alshon Jeffery still hasn't been cleared for contact.
It's the best news segment of all time.
We've never had a better news segment than that.
There's one thing, it's like putting in the wrong drop is one thing. Putting in a drop none of us have ever heard is another thing.
Where did you get
I don't know what it is. Brooks, do you want to...
You're welcome, I guess.
Do you want to speak up here?
That is titled news or is somewhere in our drop files.
Look, we've done 650 shows. The surprise that came on all 3 of our ears when we heard out of nowhere. It was like, wait.
Bears wide receiver Anthony Miller is day-to-day with a dislocated left shoulder.
Oh, sweet mercy. That's
Aqib Talib's going to need surgery. Adam Schefter has reported that he's going to miss at least a month with a high ankle sprain, but Marcus Peters might play this week. And Michael.
Kristen Michael has gone to bed, released from the Colts.
Well, that's our news for today.
Why is the Kristen Michael part even in there? That's just
vindictive for you.
I feel personally attacked for that one, Brooks.
As you
What's that all about?
Oh, that was special, man. I did not expect that at all. Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brooks.
Thank you very much, Brooks. You that's a highlight. All right, we want to thank today's sponsor. SeatGeek has been with us for a long time. They are the best and only place to get your tickets to live events. There's so much cool football going on right now. Your team, there's a solid chance that your team has a new quarterback starting this week. I mean, Baker and Rosen, Darnold, and it's just awesome. And if you want to go and see it live, you get your tickets through SeatGeek. That's what we use. We're going to a game tonight. We're going to the Diamondbacks. Andy and I don't know why we're going to baseball, but you might like
because baseball's great.
You can get any kind of tickets on SeatGeek. Their tickets are fully guaranteed. They give you a ticket-based value chart so you can easily see, am I getting the best value? It's so easy. And the best part, our listeners, you can get $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. Just download the SeatGeek app, enter promo code FOOTBALLERS today. That's promo code FOOTBALLERS for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. SeatGeek, life is an event, and we have the tickets.
Like to thank Pristine Auction for sponsoring today's show. Pristine Auction, the absolute best sports memorabilia website in known existence. Foot Clan, you are getting steals. You are getting deals on Pristine Auction every single day, because every single day they throw up hundreds of new auctions. You're getting autographed jerseys. We got, my man Mike Evans. He is up on the wall, signed by the hands of Mike Evans himself. And listen to these deals.
We're getting a little Andy Dalton bit in today.
We're working on it.
Something special we're planning for you out there.
We're working on it. And check out these deals that happened recently on Pristine Auction. Mark Ingram signed Saints jersey, just $68. A Devontae Adams signed Packers jersey, just $63. You got to check it out, Foot Clan. PRISTINE auction.com. Make a completely free account. But when you make that account, let them know that the Fantasy Footballers sent you.
Oh, man.
We got to rebrand news and notes.
We got to get into – I'm afraid to push this next button.
Let's see.
Put me in, Coach.
I feel it's so funny because
that's disappointing.
I mean, we had a full crash, lost all of our drops. It takes a long time to rebuild this thing, and he put in the effort and the time. And that's what we get. All right, waiver wire. Let's start at the wide receiver position. I have a guy that I'm targeting this week on the waiver wire. My favorite pickup, but we'll start with kind of the one probably owned but worth taking a peek at, and that's John Brown. We have him down at 63% owned, but he went 5 for 86 again on 9 targets. He is a reliable flex play.
Yes, pick him up.
But the main pickups this
and I
week,
guess Chris Godwin, if you're saying, probably owned, if he's available in our league of record,
sure.
Maybe he's out there in yours.
Yeah, and I think there's just doubts when you have a 2-3 fringe situation. Yep. It's kind of like the Rams or something.
Sure, it feels like that, but Godwin is the 2.
Look, there's a 2-3 situation that is my personal favorite pickup this week. The guy that I would be going after is in that 2-3 situation, and that's Geronimo Allison. I think Geronimo Allison has shown that he is probably the 2. I mean, he could be the 3, but when he's the 3, he's still going to be fine. He plays for Aaron Rodgers, and, so far on the season, he's been great. He hasn't had fewer than 60 yards in a single game. He's had 2 touchdowns in 3 games. What more do you want from a waiver wire pickup? This is a guy that I think you could start in just about any matchup as well. So he's the guy I would be targeting if he's available on waivers.
He's playing on over 70% of snaps.
Well, that's the key there. His targets have gone down in all 3 games, but he's safe for 4 targets. You hope he does something with them.
Yeah,
that's
he only had
the big play.
He had 2 receptions, 76 yards, and a touchdown this last week. I don't like chasing the low volume, but I don't think he is a guaranteed low volume either. I think he could have 6, 7, 8 receptions in a game.
So I want to contrast him with a guy that's owned basically in the same percentage, which is about 33% of leagues. My favorite target is actually Antonio Callaway, wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns. Baker Mayfield starting this week. It changes the offense dramatically.
Yes.
And they also have the kind of, Mike's brought it up before on the show, when you have a backup, and he was the backup until Gordon was released. They had a rapport in the preseason. If you remember the final preseason game, Callaway was punished and had to play every snap, and there was a lot of Baker and Callaway. And he's an elite talent. He's an elite speed. He's a first-round talent that ended up going later due to concerns about his, character concerns.
Yes.
So Allison, 33% owned. Callaway, 33% owned. I lean Callaway. I prefer that. Now, I think that might be a hot take because you got the whole situation with Aaron Rodgers versus Baker Mayfield, but Callaway being locked in as the primary, I know he's the 2 outside of Landry, but he's the 1 on the outside.
Right. He's not, Landry is a short yardage possession receiver, so Callaway is their big play guy.
89% of snaps last week, and it's going to be that way the remainder of the year. He is the guy in Cleveland. So if you believe in Baker, I think you have to believe in Callaway. If you had to choose, Mike, which of those 2 would you take?
Ooh, that's a difficult choice. I lean the Geronimo side, but just barely. I think that my love for Antonio Callaway has been professed several times on this show.
All right.
Honestly, I feel like this is a really solid week for wide receivers on the waiver wire.
It's a wide receiver week, not a running back week.
There's a lot of guys I want at wide receiver, and there are crickets at running back right now, which is why, as a fresh reminder, we tell you to draft so many running backs and have more running backs and wide receivers leaving the draft because it's hard on the waivers with running backs on a lot of weeks.
Yeah, but clearly not that hard to pick up a contributing wideout.
Yeah.
Right? Because these guys are all under 50% owned. I want to bring up 2 guys that we had fantasy film studies done this week by the writing staff here at the Fantasy Footballers. You can read the full film study articles on thefantasyfootballers.com. But Tyler Boyd, only 17% owned, and then Calvin Ridley. Both of them had monster weeks. The interesting thing when you look at the film, a guy like Tyler Boyd, now A.J. Green, I know he missed some time in this game, but the snap percentage for Tyler Boyd was up at 91% in this game. That was pretty, significantly higher than even the week before when we were really impressed with him. He has 2 straight weeks with 6+ catches. Last week, 132 yards and a touchdown, scored in 2 weeks. And then you have Ridley, who he's been at that 67% snap count percentage, but he had the monster week, 6 catches, 3 touchdowns. I think the most fab and waiver priorities are going to be spent on Calvin Ridley. They're going to chase that Mondo game.
Sure.
Do you think it's worthwhile? I mean, and give me a fab amount that you'd spend on Ridley, because do you want to really blow a high percentage of your budget on a guy that, look, 3 touchdowns, I don't care who you are, you're not going to repeat that all year long.
I'm not gonna go out and break the bank for a guy who's 66% of the snaps. That's right around what he's averaging. Perhaps that goes up. I don't foresee it doing that, even with the huge performance. I would spend 8% or whatever on Calvin Ridley. I'd like to add him, but Tyler Boyd is my number 1 waiver wire wide receiver pickup of the week. Yes, he is heavily involved. A.J. Green is banged up. Andy Dalton, we're going to talk about him, of course, in the show, but Andy Dalton and the Bengals have a fantastic run coming up with their matchups. Here's just the next 3. The Atlanta Falcons, who are absolutely decimated on the defensive side of the ball. Miami, who they've been okay, but they can be beat.
And they're at home in that matchup.
At home. And then Pittsburgh the next week. I mean, the Bengals, and then there are even more juicy matchups right after that. Tampa Bay is involved. I want in on the Bengals offense right now.
I don't blame you for that. I think the A.J. Green, I was going to bring up the fact that the 90% snap count this last week
that was
because
A.J. Green missed.
Yeah, A.J. Green was off the field.
But week 1, 83%, week 2, 78%.
Yes.
So, I mean, he's an 80% guy.
Absolutely.
He is the 2, and he has, like we were talking about for O.J. Howard, I think that Boyd has leveled up.
I agree.
He's catching up to the game.
He looks great. I would be happy to put him number 1 if you wanted to take the shot at A.J. Green missing this week. Now, we didn't talk about when we were discussing Callaway and Geronimo, we didn't say what percentage fab we would spend on those guys that we're going after. It's pretty simple for me, and tell me if you guys disagree. But this is, and I've shared this before, but with wide receivers, I'm pretty much, my max is 5% of my budget.
And
so if it's 100,
take the scraps.
I'll take the scraps. I'll put $5 out there. If there's ever a guy like I've just, I completely believe something's happened and a full injury ahead of him, then I would change that up if I think I can get someone who's going to be great the rest of the year. But because every single week you could pick a guy up off of waivers, start him in your flex, start him as a wide receiver, and you'll be fine, I don't want to blow priority and I don't want to blow a lot of money, I'll just simply put $5 or less bids and I'll order the players in the order I like them versus.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that principle. I think this week specifically with the 89% of snaps and my confidence in Baker and the Callaway connection, I'd probably put Callaway and Boyd in a separate category of guys that I'd probably spend, I don't know, $8 to $10 of fab on. And then the rest I'd put in that pile. But I get it. I mean, you have the opportunity. There's a narrative for all these guys to succeed. And we're going to look at Christian Kirk. 7 for 90 last week on the atrocious Cardinals offense. Larry Fitzgerald has not been involved. He'll come up, I'm sure, in Stash or Trash today. And then Christian Kirk has the report that we've seen with Josh Rosen, who was named the starter.
It's the same thing.
Maybe you heard about Josh Rosen in our news segment.
The Cardinals. Christian Kirk is interesting to me. The same for some of the same reasons why Callaway was so interesting at the beginning of the year. The backup quarterback playing with the backup wide receiver. Christian Kirk had to earn his time, and maybe we're chasing a narrative here, but he looks great. He was productive this past week, and now we get Josh Rosen. So I think Christian Kirk, if you're going with Jason's method, Christian Kirk should absolutely be in that list of guys that you'll just put a little bit and hope one of those wide receivers ends up on your team.
He'll be low on my list. He will not be high. I'm not going to chase because I think that the ceiling is very low. Even if the report is there, maybe your full point PPR and his floor could be high, but you're still got Larry as the number one. The offense is still
here's
poor at best.
I want to drop some knowledge on you here. Reception percentage in the 2018 season. So this is targets to receptions. By far, the number one is Michael Thomas.
Oh, it's unfathomable.
He has caught 38 of 40 targets. That's targets. That's not just – now, obviously, Drew Brees, puts it on him. But he's great. Number two in the NFL, Ryan Grant, 86% of targets. Number three, Deshaun Jackson. Number four, Emmanuel Sanders. And you know who's tied for number five? Christian Kirk. 12 of 15 targets. He's got them sticky hands.
I loved Christian Kirk coming out of college and draft season. It went Cortland Sutton, Christian Kirk on my own personal pre-draft rankings. But I do think for fantasy this season, I just think his ceiling is capped. But
PPR leagues, I like him a whole lot more.
Yes.
For what it's worth, the worst three in the league right now on receptions to targets, Dante Moncrief, 41%.
Yeah.
Kelvin Benjamin.
Oh, that makes sense.
40%.
That makes sense.
And dead last, believe it or not, Cortland Sutton.
Oh, wow. Come on, Sutton.
35%. I don't blame – it's downfield targets.
And one of those was actually a reception for a touchdown.
Fair. What about the Jordan one?
Yeah,
did you just call him the Jordan one?
I did.
As in he's wearing jorts?
Yes.
Okay.
Jorty Nelson, who came back to life in week 3, had a sensational performance.
I feel like jorts and his quads would not meet in a good place. I think that would be like that greeting card that you've seen a lot with the guy with the really tight jeans. You ever seen that little clip? I don't recommend Googling it.
You're on an island over there, man.
Well, you can look it up. You've seen it before.
Hold on. What am I looking up? Greeting card
just move on. Yeah, I think that might be all you need.
Okay.
Jordy will definitely be picked up wherever he was dropped.
First image. First image is.
Okay. I see some butt cheeks.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That's a pretty famous greeting card.
Stay safe.
Stay safe out there. Sorry, Jason. You were talking about Jorty Nelson?
Yeah, Jorty Nelson will certainly be picked up and should be picked up. I don't want to play the game that I think is going to happen with Amari Cooper and Jordy Nelson. I expect that it's going to be hard to predict, hard to get right, and as many times as you start a good player, you're going to start someone that causes a loss. However, there is the chance here that Jordy takes over and becomes the Michael Crabtree. He looked great. We had mentioned how his game speed from last year was not below average. He was still well above average. He was as fast as he ever was, so it didn't appear from next-gen stats that he had lost a step, and clearly this last week he hadn't. So if you want to take the shot to see if maybe he becomes consistent, I'm fine with it. I don't believe he will become consistent, so I will be letting other people spend their money on Jordy, but it definitely could happen.
I want one more deeper league name at the wide receiver position because some of these guys, look, Mike Williams is owned in a lot of leagues. That's somebody that you can't target, you can't go after. Do you have any interest in?
I got one.
What's the deeper league name?
Albert Wilson is one of those guys that's a home run shot, a weekly look. He doesn't get enough volume to be someone that should be rostered week in and week out. But if you're dealing with injuries, other guys get picked up, and you're like, I want that glory play. Albert Wilson has been used in so many different ways. He's thrown a touchdown. He's rushed a touchdown. He's caught a touchdown. You're always a 70-yard touchdown away from an Albert Wilson play, and so I would be in a deep league. You want to pick up.
He's the number 18 wideout right now.
Right.
So
you went boom, and in points per high five during touchdown runs, he's at the top of the charts.
Yeah, him and Tarik. You got anybody, Mike? You got a deep league guy?
Yeah,
you could bring up Ryan Grant, only 4% owned. And like I said,
now.
Yeah, that's
mine.
Albert Wilson, Ryan Grant were the guys to talk about if you're in a deeper league, but I'm not super interested in Ryan Grant.
I'm not either. How about? I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's no, he's not too owned. But Taylor Gabriel is another name where the volume.
Just want more of that Trubisky passing offense, Jason?
No. But I mean, look, if we're looking really, really deep and trying to find someone that is completely unowned, his target counts have been good, and he has the speed to break something
He's in the
off.
Albert Wilson category because
Yes.
they do run him on end rounds and things like that. When I was looking up stats this morning on Ryan Fitzpatrick and the touchdown totals, Mahomes is throwing a touchdown every 7-point-something passes. Trubisky is one every 40.
Trubisky's
that seems
he's trouble.
bad.
He's
trouble.
He's a bad quarterback.
All right, running back waiver wire. Let's talk about it's a weird week. It really is, especially at the running back position because you're looking at a bunch of players that these guys are probably owned: Bilal Powell, Austin Eckler, Alfred Morris, Aaron Jones. They probably aren't available in your league. I mean, that's the facts. But if they are, those are names that you should look at, including T.J. Yeldon, who was a little banged up, but Leonard Fournette is always one moment from the bench. But the main pickups this week, you're looking at Javorius Allen. You're looking at Javorius Allen.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, we could not find significant value at the running back position this week. And I'd be targeting Aaron Jones if for some reason he's available because I think he'll become something in a couple weeks. But guys, it's a thin, sad world.
Here's what's available on the waivers. If you're in a half-point or a full-point PPR league, you grab the guys that receive, the third down backs, the scat backs that can go into your lineup and get you hopefully 10 points on the back of 6 receptions. Those guys would be like a Ty Montgomery, a Nyheim Hines, Darren Sproles if he is healthy. Those are your best bets this week. If you're like, crap, Christian McCaffrey's on bye. I'm dealing with an injury to my other running back, and I have to find someone to start. I have to have someone this week on waivers. Then you're looking at a pass-catching back, and hopefully you can get enough points out of him.
Do you go after Chris Ivory in case LaShawn McCoy misses? Because he was heavily involved. 20 carries, obviously the game script was in his favor, but 6% owned. I mean, you can sign Chris Ivory if you want him.
Yeah, I definitely do. I expect Shady to be back, but if he's out, you've got a starting running back. So Chris Ivory would, look, if you're in that position I just described, I would much rather go after Chris Ivory first because Nyheim Hines, Ty Montgomery, Darren Sproles, when your waivers are done running, those three, they very well might still be sitting there.
Today's show should highlight. I mean, there's 10 to 15 wide receiver names. There's one. There's one not owned name in Javorius Allen, Buck Allen. I mean, that should highlight why we prioritize. It's not just.
Why is he still unowned everywhere?
Nobody wants Buck Allen. Come on.
Not even Harbaugh.
No.
He just He's tried so hard to have a healthy Kenneth Dixon, and he can't do it.
I know. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, he signed Danny Woodhead last year.
I mean, Javorius Allen,
he's the new depth chart assassin.
He doesn't get great volume, but he is involved in only two ways, and they're the two most valuable ways for a running back to be involved: the goal line and the pass catching. So
he has a picture of James White in his mirror. I mean, in the corner of his mirror. That is the comp.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's reliable enough for that team. All right, let's talk tight ends. Who are you targeting? Because, look, if you can find a way to get David Njoku, I think it's going to be very interesting with Baker Mayfield.
Yep.
But he is zoned in 68% of leagues. There's a lot of hype before the season, and he hasn't been dropped by a lot of people, although it could happen this week. He'd be a drop-it-like-it's-hot candidate. Make sure you look at your waiver wire after they run tomorrow because he could be sitting there. People might have tired of him, and he was only 2 for 36 last week, so he's somebody to pay attention to. And then Tyler Eifert, 6 for 74 last week. Keep your eyes on him. It's a thin, dangerous world for tight ends.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And the big name at the tight end position to even really talk about, you might not even want to pick him up. But that's Dallas Goedert, who had a monster game, 7 for 73 with a score on 7 targets, so he was absolutely perfect. But the first 2 games, he barely even saw the field.
I'll be shocked if he has more than 2 receptions this week. That's my fear. I mean,
absolutely.
But do you want him on your bench to see?
Yes, I want him on my bench. Yes. If Alshon is out and Wentz is obviously back, I would even take a shot over a lot of other people to start him. Week 1, he was a drop away from a touchdown reception, so he could have had 2 out of 3 weeks being a valuable fantasy tight end.
Being a top 12 tight end.
Vance McDonald or Dallas Goedert?
I think I would rather have Vance. If Vance showed he's healthy, we've always been big fans of
I'm doing
Vance
the
McDonald.
Vance dance all the time, but yeah, that's a tough call because Vance McDonald played. I'm looking at Pro Football Reference. They show him playing on about 48% of snaps. I know he had the huge play. I would love it if they can go forward with Vance McDonald, but it's a 2 tight end thing for both of these guys, for both Dallas Goedert and Vance McDonald.
Here's a drop it like it's hot candidate that I would be on the lookout for on waivers is Jack Doyle, because Jack Doyle is injured, did very little week 2. People are going to have to just move on and say, I can't trust him, drop him. But Eric Ebron got the targets, and he just didn't get it done. And if you look at the snap percentages between those 2 guys, I think they could, when Doyle gets back, if
Doyle was dropped, I would take him over all of these tight ends that we've been talking about easily.
Ben Watson, 5 for 71 last week. Will Disley crashing back to earth.
Big Montana.
Crashing back to earth with 1 for 4.
The Moose was nearly goosed.
I love Big Montanas.
Are you talking about the sandwich?
Yes, I am. They are delicious.
Now, is this right? You told me that you almost destroyed your diet and your bowels by doing kind of a depressing fast food run last night, but you held off?
I did. I held off, and I said, I'm not gonna tilt. I'm here for the people. I'm going to win the championship this year. I will.
I hope you did like Disley. Just did 3 sets of push-ups right after that.
No, I went to bed early. That was the only way.
The only way to stop
my
yourself
pain
from drive-through was just you got to be unconscious.
Yeah, I gotta end today.
All right, we're gonna get into our quarterback streamers, but I want to know some names at the defensive position.
Oh, you could. If they're there, I mean, they're very owned, but if somehow the Los Angeles Chargers were dropped because someone did not want to play them against the Los Angeles Rams, they get to play C.J. Beathard and the San Francisco 49ers. That would be the top pickup of the week.
I think Seattle is a target too, because
sure.
Whatever Josh Rosen can do, he can undo with a bad pick 6.
There's some good options this week. I agree that Seattle is worth a look. It is in Arizona, so maybe that's
I'm 100% fine with the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are going to have a great game, but I would also throw out the Arizona Cardinals as well in this game. Similar to last week, I said the Cardinals and the Bears, both defenses in Arizona, are going to be fine. And they both were. Arizona has actually been fine on the defensive side of the ball for fantasy purposes. Mitchell Trubisky wasn't that great, but and we know Russell Wilson gives up sacks. So
Right.
at home, they'll get enough sacks. I think you could.
The
pick
Cardinals'
the
defense
Cardinals
has
up.
been disadvantaged because of the time of possession.
Right.
Because their offense has been so bad, and obviously they had the game against the Rams, which every defense looks bad against the Rams right now. Did you see that stat?
About the 3rd and out.
Yeah, like so in the NFL, the top teams in terms of like lowest percentage of 3 and outs are at like 22%, 23%, 24%. So that means they only go 3 and out like a quarter of the time. The Rams are at 6%.
Yeah.
Tier break.
Yeah.
Can we trade for Sean McVay out here?
I would love to do that. That would be fantastic. But the last defense you got to throw out, of course, despite Buffalo's big week, the Green Bay Packers at home against the Buffalo Bills, I am very confident going in on that. Buffalo, I heard the number. We talked about it. The defense is what won the game for Buffalo last week because the Bills' average starting position was the opponent's 40-yard line.
Wow. That's
good.
good.
How you lose football games.
That's a 40-yard field.
So I would not. I'm not shying away from playing the Green Bay Packers against the Bills.
I agree with you on that. The Packers will score, and they will put more on the shoulder of Josh Allen, and more mistakes are going to be possible there. It's in Lambeau. That's going to be intimidating. Agree completely. I want to fly through some names real quick before we get into full stream ahead. I just want to know if you think you can drop these guys. Are they stashed? Are they trash?
Okay.
Amari Cooper.
Trade.
Yeah,
I'm not dropping him, but I'm definitely trading him.
I'm not dropping him either.
Derrick Henry.
He's getting too much volume to drop.
Yeah,
you have to stash him.
Corey Davis.
Drop.
Yeah, I'd be
Whoa.
willing to drop him too.
I'd be willing.
Whoa.
I mean, all of these guys, if you can package trade them, do so. But Mariota,
I am a major stash for Corey Davis. He hasn't had Marcus Mariota healthy.
yeah, and he still doesn't.
But week 1 he did, and he was very productive, high target count. So I would stash Corey Davis.
I would trade Corey Davis to you.
Well, I thought you said you were going to drop him, Jason.
No, I'm saying I'm willing.
I'm going to sign him off the waiver wire.
I'm willing.
Jamaal Williams.
No, you've got to stash Jamaal Williams.
He's a trash for me.
You'd drop him to the waivers?
Yes, out of spite
Out
for
of
your
spite
Corey
for
Davis
Corey
drop.
Davis.
He's either in a 3 running back timeshare, or he loses.
Right.
Or he's on the bench looking at a 2-person timeshare with Aaron Jones and Montgomery.
It is not a good situation for Jamaal Williams, but we just went through the running back waivers. I'm willing to drop wide receivers to the waivers because I know I can always pick up a wide receiver from the waiver. But there's just no running.
Would you rather roster Jordan Wilkins or Jamaal Williams?
Jamaal Williams.
I think Jamaal Williams. I don't really want any part of the Colts running game.
Pierre Garcon.
No, drop.
I want to say drop, but C.J. Beathard coming in.
That's a Baxter situation.
Drop.
Okay,
That's right off the bridge.
I mean, when Beathard was in, the offense was just operated.
You
far
heard the
different.
15 names that I prefer in the waiver wire segment today over Pierre Garcon?
Yes.
Not to mention you just brought up starting defenses against Beathard. I don't think this is an opportunity for Garcon to break out. Tarik Cohen.
You can drop him.
Duke Johnson.
You can.
Duke Johnson.
I would hold on to Duke Johnson just to see what happens with Baker.
Same with Cohen. The situation is just what I described. It's just impossible to drop a running back. If you drop a running back that has a snap percentage, you're probably making a mistake.
All right, let's go quick here. Jamison Crowder.
Drop.
He's on bye this week too, so more reason to drop him. Robbie Anderson.
Drop.
Larry Fitzgerald. Yes, Larry Fitzgerald. He's a hold in.
No, you
he's a
can't
hold in
drop.
Rosen for me.
You can't drop him?
You cannot drop that big of a name. You have to trade. You have to package trade.
Let's see what Rosen does.
Yes. Yeah, you've got 1 week of Rosen. If he has a good game at home this week, if Larry, then you can sell it that it's Rosen and trade him. Package trade him.
Yeah, Peyton Barber.
Hold.
Rashad Penny.
Baxter.
Yeah, you can drop him.
Now, when you say Baxter, you mean punt him off a bridge?
Yes.
Just making sure. This is the biggest one. Chris Hogan.
That one's really tough.
Josh Gordon will play this week. Julian Edelman will come back next week.
Yeah. I'm going to hold.
I'm still going to hold. I am, but
I think he's a trap. I think I'm going to cut him. 7 receptions through 3 weeks.
It's hard to disagree with you, but look at the entire Patriots offense. They have been absolute garbage for fantasy. So you're like, okay, Josh Gordon's coming, Julian Edelman. Does that actually help Chris Hogan in the long run get more opportunities to score? That's why I'm just hesitant to drop him. I do not blame anyone who does it.
Full stream ahead.
All right, streaming quarterback candidates for Week 4. We're picking out guys that are most likely available in your league that we think you can roll out there if you need a quarterback streamer. So let's start with Mike. Mike, who do you got? You brought him up earlier.
I got Andy Dalton. Listen to this complete run of matchups upcoming for the Red Rifle. Atlanta, Miami, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Tampa Bay. That is some glorious matchups when it comes to fantasy football and fantasy quarterbacks. He's had multi-touchdowns in every single game this year. And what's different to me for Andy Dalton, he was bad Andy last year. I mean, he was partially bad Andy this past weekend. I believe he had 4 interceptions, but still came through with a decent fantasy game. He has 2 legitimate wide receiver options, which he has not for a while. It's been A.J. Green and Brandon LaFell. With the emergence of Tyler Boyd, Tyler Eifert being healthy also changes things drastically. He's getting it done this year for fantasy football. So I like him. He's my number 1 quarterback pickup this week because of those upcoming matchups. You may have Andy Dalton in your lineup for the next month and a half.
I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mania!
I was going to say, I'm not buying long-term hype with Baker, but I think this matchup.
I am.
This matchup with Oakland this week is a good one. Oakland just gave up 300 yards and 3 touchdowns to Ryan Tannehill, who was
Tannehill had 300 yards.
Yeah, because of the tap passes that went 70.
Yeah.
They still count. And look, Tannehill was the streamer last week. I'm gonna ride that matchup. And
289.
I expect
you rounded up.
I did. I expect at least one big play from Antonio Callaway. It's going to help Baker, and I think that there's going to be opportunity here. So I think Baker Mayfield. I think you can buy the hype for a week. I like the matchup.
My stream of the week is a guy that
Monday Night Football.
Monday Night Football. It's going to be a barn burner in primetime. Why? Because it's the Kansas City Chiefs. And obviously you can't stream Pat Mahomes, but you want a quarterback in that game.
Well, if he's on your waiver wire,
yeah, I would recommend
I'd recommend picking him up.
Yeah,
solid.
That's a really good analysis, Mike. No, Case Keenum, a guy that I have always professed my belief in him being a good quarterback. Had a rough week this last week, but we all knew. I mean, he's going on the road to Baltimore. This is a matchup in primetime at home where Kansas City is going to put up points because that's all they do, and Case Keenum's going to have to come back through the air. He's got the weapons to do it. Listen to this. 3 games. We're 3 games into the season. Kansas City has given up 1,127 passing yards through 3 games and 8 touchdowns, 8 passing touchdowns. So Case Keenum, that's an average of 375 yards a game and 2.6 touchdowns. So if Case Keenum comes out and throws 250 and 2, you're going to be pretty happy scooping him up off the waiver wire, but the ceiling is very, very high.
I think that my only worry about that game is because the strategy to beat Kansas City is to get the ball out of their offense's hands.
Truth.
So if Denver gets a defensive score, if they get an early lead, if there's something that happens, if I'm Denver, I am running the football and trying to zap that clock with time of possession. That's the only thing I'll say. That would be the trap for Keenum. I still think the more likely scenario right now is that Pat Mahomes and Kansas City finds a way to score, but that would be the small little trap there.
If there's a defense that can slow Kansas City down, there's only 3 of them that come to mind, and Denver is one of them. So you're absolutely right. that could be a trap. But I think if they do get out to a lead and start running the ball, I think Pat Mahomes is going to be able to come down and still score and cause Case Keenum to have to throw at home.
And Keenum's at home. Yeah, it's a good matchup. I'm looking forward to both the Thursday night and Monday night games this week as a fantasy fan. I mean, you get to watch the Rams on Thursday Night Football, a great matchup against the Vikings, and then you get Monday night Pat Mahomes in the prime time against,
it's a fun slate this
Denver
week.
and a divisional matchup there. So I'm really excited about that. I think that's it, boys. I think we're moving into the waivers.
Moving in?
Put in your waiver bits.
Yep.
I mean, it's time to go. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
I wish we had more news and notes to discuss. Oh, news and notes. We have another podcast.
Actually, I do have a little. I do have a little bit of news.
Yeah.
Greg Olson says
he's ahead of the curve.
Way ahead of schedule. He thinks he's going to be back soon.
Greg Olson.
You don't buy it? With the tight end landscape, you don't take a shot?
Yeah, I'd take a shot.
Throw him on your IR?
Oh, yeah.
If you have an IR, he
would have been in there.
waivers.
Yeah. If I have an IR, he would have already been in there. I'm just saying.
Would you hold him on your bench for a couple weeks?
Yeah.
I would be willing, and I've been the one that's spoken against the re-injury, and Greg Olson, I pumped the brakes on him both on the season and week one, and if he's out there, the tight end landscape is so bad, he is better than, I mean, what are you going to do, pick up Will Disley or have a shot at a top 5 tight end? If O.J. Howard were out there, I would pick up O.J. Howard right now over Greg Olson. I get to play him now, and I think they'll be about the same when I get back in different ways.
O.J. Howard or George Kittle rest of the season?
O.J. Howard.
Ooh, that's very close. I think I still lean. I'm going to go Howard. Yep. I'm going Howard. Hey, if you're going to play some daily this weekend, make sure you check out draft.com/ballers. They'll get you set up. Have fun, and we will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.